This is a story about Jacob and an unusual ladder. Jacob lived a very long time ago, but we need to start this story with his father, Isaac, who was Abraham's son. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. They longed for a child, but it was 20 years before that happened. And when it did, Rebekah had twin boys. While she was pregnant, the babies were very wriggly inside her, kicking her quite a lot. She was a bit worried, so she asked God for help. Why are my babies so wriggly? Why do they keep on kicking me? She asked. Well, said God, they are special babies, but they are always going to be fighting against each other. In time, they will become two separate nations, and they will still be fighting each other. The time came and the babies were born. The first baby had lots of hair, and they called him Esau because it means hairy, and he was a redhead, a ginger. The second baby was called Jacob, which means he grasps the heel, because when he was born, that's exactly what he was doing to Esau. The boys grew up into quite different young men. Esau liked the outdoors. He was always outside, and he learned to be a skillful hunter. Jacob preferred to stay at home as much as possible. One day, Jacob was at home cooking a delicious stew. When Esau came home, he smelled the delicious aroma. What's that I can smell? What's for dinner, Jacob? Esau asked. I've made a lovely stew, said Jacob, and you can have some if you want. Of course I want, said Esau. I've been in the outdoors all day and I'm absolutely starving. I'm ready to drop if I don't get to eat right now. Okay, said Jacob. You can have as much stew as you can eat, but I want you to do me a favour. Okay, anything you like, just get me some food, said Esau. I want you to give me your birthright. I want to be treated like the firstborn and receive all the benefits that brings. Will you give that to me? Okay, whatever, said Esau. Just get me the food. I'm so hungry I could eat the whole pot. I need you to swear an oath that you've given it to me, said Jacob, just to make sure you won't go back on this. So Esau swore an oath that Jacob could have the birthright. Then he sat down to eat his dinner as though nothing important had happened. Many years later, Isaac was nearing the end of his life. He was old and frail and nearly blind. Esau, where are you? I want to talk to you, he called. I'm here, Dad, said Esau. What can I do for you? Is there anything you need? There is, son, said Isaac. I need to give you my blessing before I die. It's a custom we have. I know I'm getting old and I don't know how long I've got, so we should get on with this before it's too late. But first, I would really like you to prepare me a meal. Go out into the countryside that you love so much and find some tasty wild game to eat. Then prepare me a delicious meal. Once I've eaten, I will pass on my special blessing to you as my firstborn son. Then Esau collected what he needed to hunt down some wild game and went out to find something for a special dinner. Rebekah was listening and heard all of this. Because, let's face it, since they all lived in large tents, as some people still do in that region today, the walls weren't very thick. It was quite easy to hear conversations. This was important because Rebekah had a soft spot for her youngest child and favoured Jacob, wanting the best for him at all times. Now she realised there may be a way to make sure he was set up for life. Jacob, Rebekah called. Yes, Mum, what is it? Jacob, I've been listening to your dad. He's had a conversation with your brother and he's ready to give Esau his special blessing. If we act fast, I think you can get it instead. Okay, said Jacob, what do I need to do? Your dad wants Esau to make him a lovely meal and serve it to him before he gives Esau his blessing. I can do that. I can make a lovely meal. You'll need to bring me a young goat or two, but I can make it taste amazing, as good as any wild game that Esau may get. And I can do it before he gets back from hunting, if we're quick. Right, off you go. Get me a goat, maybe two if they're really small. I've got everything else I need. We'll give your dad a meal to remember. He's nearly blind. He'll never know you're not Esau when you take it into him and receive the blessing. Won't never get away with it, Mum, said Jacob. Look at me. I'm nothing like my brother. He's all muscle from being outdoors all the time. He's hairy too, and he's ginger. Dad will know it's me as soon as I enter his room. Maybe, said Rebecca, but I have a plan. Now go and get these goats. We haven't got all day. Obediently, Jacob went to find a goat, while Rebecca busied herself with the cooking. When the meal was ready, and the aroma of delicious food and baking bread could be smelled everywhere, Rebecca went to fetch Esau's clothes to put on to Jacob. I can't wear them, said Jacob. They won't fit me, Mum, and they stink. They smell of outdoors and bonfires and wild animals, and they absolutely stink of sweat too. Yes, I know, said Rebecca. That's the whole point. But, said Jacob, look at my arms. I really need long sleeves to cover my arms. Oh, stop fussing. The food is getting cold, said Rebecca. Here are the skins of the goats. Put them on your arms. Let them be peeking out under the sleeves. They are quite gingery too, so if your dad touches you, he'll think it's Esau. Now get the food and give it to your dad and make sure you receive his blessing. So Jacob put on his brother's clothes and with the skins on his arms took the food into his father's room. Hello, Dad, he said. I've brought you some food. Hello, son, said Isaac. That smells delicious, and I can smell fresh bread too. Yes, said Jacob. I've made the delicious meal you asked for, so do come on and enjoy it, and then you can give me your blessing. There's just one thing, said Isaac. You don't sound quite like Esau, and I'm sure it should have taken you much longer to find and cook the wild game. Are you sure you're my son Esau? You sound very much like Jacob. Of course I'm Esau, said Jacob. I was blessed with successful hunting by your God, so it didn't take too long to get your meal. I'm still not sure, thought Isaac to himself. Come closer to me, son. Bring me the food, and to let me touch you to know that you are my son Esau before I give you my blessing. So Jacob brought the food to Isaac. And as Isaac leaned forward, he smelled the smell on the clothes, the smell of outdoors and bonfires and wild animals, and the deep smell of sweat from working outside. And he reached out to touch his son and found hairy arms with a ginger tinge and believed it was his son Esau. He ate the food, and then he pronounced his blessing for his firstborn son Esau. He called upon God to bring forth blessings onto his son, to make him a man of importance, who others would bow down to and serve, to be blessed and fruitful and successful and important. And after his father had blessed him, Jacob left his father to go and tell his mother how well the plan had worked. That was when Esau came into his father's room with a meal that smelled amazing. It was prepared from wild game that he had caught and cooked himself. Hello, Dad, I'm back, said Esau, and I've got you a lovely meal that you're sure to enjoy, and then you can give me your blessing, just as you promised. Esau, said Isaac, but I've just given you my blessing. You can't be Esau. Who are you? Dad, I am Esau, your firstborn son. What are you talking about? Esau was puzzled, but Isaac was furious. It was that brother of yours. He came and tricked me, said Isaac. He knows that I can't see well, and he tricked me into giving my blessing to him. I can't take it back. It was my special blessing reserved for my firstborn son, and he tricked me into giving it to him instead. Oh no, Dad, that's terrible, said Esau. But can't you give me a blessing too? There must be something you can do. I'm so sorry, son. I wanted you to be successful and fruitful and important and have people bow down to you and serve you. And that's the blessing I gave. So all these things will be for your brother now. Esau was absolutely furious. That brother. First he took my birthright. Now he's taken my blessing. I hate him. I'm going to kill him, and left in a rage. Isaac was deeply annoyed that he'd been tricked, but couldn't do anything. Rebekah realized just how furious and annoyed the two men were, and went to find Jacob to warn him. You need to leave, she told him. You have to get away from here. Just go right now. Go to my brother, your uncle. He'll look after you. When your dad and brother have calmed down, you can come back. Right now, you need to get away, or your brother will kill you for what you have done. Jacob had no choice but to set out for his uncle's house. The sun set while he was travelling, and he had to stop for the night because it was dark. He took a large stone to use as a pillow and put it under his head, and he went to sleep. While he was asleep, he had a dream. He saw a stairway or a ladder in his dream. It was really tall because it stretched all the way from the earth right up to heaven. And there were angels going up and down the ladder. Right at the top of the ladder was God, and God was speaking to Jacob. I am God, said God. I am the God your grandfather Abraham worshipped, and I am the God your father Isaac worships too. Now listen, because I am going to give you and your children and their children and their children the land that you are lying down on. You are going to have such a big family that they are going to be spreading out in all directions and far too many to count. Remember that, because wherever you go, I will be with you. I will make sure you come back to this very place, right here. I won't leave you until all that I have promised happens to you. When Jacob woke up, he remembered his dream and said to himself, wow, this is really a holy place, and I had no idea. God is actually here, right here. Jacob took the stone which he had used as a pillow, and he stood it upright and blessed it, and he worshipped God. Then he continued on his journey to his uncle. Jacob stayed with his uncle for many years. He married and he had children, and we'll hear more about them very soon.